everyone, ambassador, friends, colleagues. It is a pleasure to invite you to the Bellona and Sahara Forest Project Pavilion here at COP27. We are excited to have a side event together with you here today on Climate Action 2.0. Bellona, Pathfinder and the Sahara Forest Project has teamed up to show that action speaks louder than words. We look forward today to discuss concrete measures on how advancing gender equity will provide climate solutions. Important topic. Before we start with the program today, I would like to show you a short video of what we do at the Sahara Forest Project. My name is Kjetil. I'm the Managing Director of the Sahara Forest Project. And in this video, we are really proud to show you how we are working towards achieving our triple bottom line. Yes, it's an environmental project, needs to be good for the environment. It's a project that we will see also later today showing financial returns. And importantly, it's a project that provides a social bottom line. And that is what this film today will be about, is to show how our training program for women in Jordan operates. So I would like us to see the video.
The Sahara Forest Project is based in Aqaba, Jordan, close to the Red Sea, which is the source of our seawater for our seawater greenhouse systems. And there's also an abundance of sunlight for the solar power to run the project here. Today we've been training students from all over Jordan. We started by planting seeds and we followed the whole course of the crop from planting the seeds, transplanting, plant protection, harvesting, and even discussed exporting the crop.
وجودنا اليوم عبارة عن رحلة ميدانية في برنامج تدريبي للأمن الغذائي مشان نحضر أو توضح لنا بشكل أكبر فكرة ربط التكنولوجيا الحديثة بزراعة المستدامة في الأردن. لمشروع صحارى هي أحد المشاريع الناشئة في الأردن تستخدم الطرق المستدامة في إنتاج النباتات أو زراعة النباتات في الجرين هاوسز. تستخدم المياه البحر الأحمر بتقوم بتنقيتها وبتنتج مياه الري فضلا عن إنتاج منتجات وتصديرها للأسواق المحلية أو الأسواق الخارجية. أيضا تستخدم مخلفات النباتات لحتى تنتج الأسمدة وتنتج أيضا مادة الملح.
With this expansion, we will also be continuing with training students within Jordan to improve the technical, practical capabilities of the students.
And now, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to the Norwegian ambassador to Egypt, Ms. Hilde Klemetsdal, to say a few opening remarks. Please.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. Very proud to be backing the Norwegian actors like Bellona, Sahara Forest Project, and they're a very good example of the excellent green, innovative solutions that Norway can contribute with. I think we've also seen that this type of innovation and technology and know-how that Norway can bring to Egypt is also it's a very good match with the political will that you have in Egypt, but also I see of course, the abundance of solar and wind and renewable energy, as well as very strategic location in terms of export to several markets, including Europe. We've had great success in many ways in cooperating with Egypt, so I think that the ground is laid for another exciting project like this, and this is just what we need, I think, against the bleak backdrop that we see today. So the Norway and Egypt just launched the first integrated green hydrogen project in Africa. It's also one of the first in the world, and it really shows, I think, the potential this country and the continent has. I think very exciting also to be here at the launch, I guess, or the cooperation between the organizations from Norway and also Pathfinder International. I'm sure it will bear fruits. Literally. Also, another exciting thing I think is of course the gender perspective that you're bringing to this. I believe to find solutions to the climate crisis, environment, development, we have to have a gender perspective. You have to bring girls and women on board. If not, we will not be able to make headway at all. And we have, from experience, Norwegian government gender equality is a goal in itself, obviously, but we also know that it's so effective in terms of economic development and finding solutions. And we know from our own experience that it's often said that it's the oil that made Norway rich, but if you actually do the math, they say that 80% of women participating in working life, that means much more. So this is the key. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now it's a true pleasure to invite Barbara Merz, a very inspiring person. We had the privilege of traveling through the Sinai desert with vegetables in the trunk, and you lead a fantastic organization, a Pathfinder International, bringing positive change to millions of people, women, men, young people, in helping them finding their own path. Barbara, please, the stage is yours. Take us away as the master of ceremony today.
Oh, master of ceremonies. Thank you, Kjetil. Hello, everyone. Let me start by saying that if you've ever hired someone for work or considered having someone part of your team, there's something that they have in some organizations called the late night pizza test. The late night pizza test is you say to yourself, can I actually find myself eating pizza at midnight over a deck of PowerPoint that needs to get produced for the next day with this person? Can I sit around and do that? And if the answer is yes, you can absolutely work with this person. But I think there's a deeper test I've now discovered, Frederic, which is, can I drive through the desert from Aqaba and take a boat and go through multiple security checkpoints while having a police escort with these partners? If the answer is yes, and you're still having fun, then the partnership is absolutely real. So you all humble me. It is such a pleasure. Frederic, I mean, the honor of seeing the ideas and the commitment of your life start to grow into not just what's produced, but the people. When we were in Aqaba meeting some of the folks, really passionate, the growers, Blaze on the video, but also the She Grows program, working with women, but not only young women, also refugees. I mean, this project has so many dimensions, and I think it's only the product of individuals who understand the importance of the multidimensionality of real development work. So I am not going to speak much because we have 5 speakers coming up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of whom are going to help us roll up our sleeves. So today is not a day for sit around and simply witness the project. It's actually put our heads together about how we make this project grow. And we have with us today my colleague from Pathfinder, Rannia, who will be able to speak very clearly about the importance of gender in all of our work, how we weave it in. Frederic, then the floor will be yours to talk about why action. You know, you have been at so many COPs. Why is it about solutions now? Why? What is that important moment? Lars, over to you then to understand the investment and what it looks like to take it through for expansion. If we don't get the financing right, that's shame on us. It's really time. People are looking for solutions. Dan, you're going to be able to enlighten us about the cost of carbon and why that should motivate policymakers, and the science is getting more accurate, as well as the economics. And then I will be bringing up the big question, the elephant in the room, about money, how we actually bring the money to this. So without further ado, Rannia, I would love for you to speak about our work at Pathfinder.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. At Pathfinder, we work in Egypt. We've been here since 1978. Is that correct? 1978. And we've been working for a few decades on reproductive health and family planning issues. And then the past year or two, we started introducing new sectors. It's all about women empowerment. It's all about women being in the center. We just got awarded a family planning project with USAID where gender is no longer a cross-cutting theme. It's a standalone result to make sure that we don't overlook, that we're always thinking about activities to target women, putting in the center to make sure that they're part of the process, we reach them with the activities needed for them to be at the core of what we do. When we talk about climate, since we're here in COP27, we're just piloting a project now in Sohag. Sohag is a government in Upper Egypt. It's definitely one of the underserved communities. And for the past 4 years, Pathfinder was working on a project called Ma'an. Ma'an in Arabic basically means together, where Pathfinder worked with women in 5 communities to make them agents of change. And by doing that, we worked with the couples. It's not just the women, it's to make sure that her husband is always on board. So we worked with families as agents for change, made them involved in the thinking process, looking at what they need in the different communities, how we can reach the entire community through things they came up with. Building on that, we're going to start a women-led climate resilience program in the very same communities we've worked in, where we're going to use families again as agents of change to talk about how climate change can affect the health of families, of the communities. Basically, it's just making sure that there's proper nutrition. Because of climate change, of course, in Upper Egypt, agriculture is the main source of income. And so with climate change, crops will no longer be available. So what are options? How can women be breadwinners by thinking of micro enterprises that are green? How can we think of different ways for them to be source of income for their families? And so again, women being at the center, ideas coming from them, working hand in hand with them as opposed to coming with a set of activities and implementing them. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing currently in Sohag regarding climate change. And then in our USRA program, which is a $40 million project that we just got awarded, climate change is a newly introduced overarching theme in all the work that we're doing. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rannia. It is really important to think about gender, and I love there's no better country than Norway to be partnering on that with the success over many now decades and generations. Frederic, someone else who has been thinking about things about climate for decades, I'd really love to hear from you about why now? Why is it time for solutions and action?
Thank you, Barbara. And, it's a pleasure to work together with Pathfinder. And I think this is extremely important for us to be able to scale up and work also in countries like Egypt to have people with us that has been on the ground. Because this is not to sit behind a desk and make a solution. This is to be on the ground. When we started to develop Sahara for this project, it was because we saw a huge need for new ways of producing biomass without conflicting with biodiversity, fresh water and existing food production. Now we have been testing and working to develop the technologies for many years, which is important to do. This is not a simple app to develop. But if you don't test out, find the mistakes, fix it, find new solutions, you're not ready to scale up. We have done that now. And we have this facility in Jordan, where we have experienced and learned a lot. First of all, you have to stay at the ground, you have to be there. But we have also learned the importance of the gender issue and that the knowledge in agriculture is with women in Jordan. We also learned that the young ladies, they very often have a lot of education, but they still have a trouble to get a job. But when they get practical experience, that helps them into the job market. And I must say, to be in our facility and follow this training program that we do with these very smart young ladies, is one of the most inspiring things I ever have joined. It's a lot of unemployment in Jordan, and I think we need to understand that we in the rich countries need to move material and capital intensive production of energy and food to more labor intensive production in developing countries. The fantastic part with the Sahara Forest project is this will enable us to build large-scale solar, but not dependent on have an electricity contract, because we store the energy in biomass that could be exported to all over the world. And what this country needs is income, going green by black numbers and some red tomatoes. Is extremely important if we are going to succeed with this. To be able to do that, we have learned that we don't manage to do this without also increasing the workforce in this kind of projects with women, with young, clever girls that get so motivated when we work together with them. So it's such a power in that. But if you don't make this, as I say, go green by black numbers, we don't succeed. We cannot solve the issues in Africa by aid. We need to do this with commercial initiatives. We need the government to secure the financing and give us guarantees and reduce the political risk. But still, this needs to go economic viable. And therefore, we are also very glad that we now have reached that part that we can go commercial and create income. And Lars from Sahara Forest Project is now going to give us more explanation how we work and what the economy is. But we think that, and I want to finish with that, the facility in Jordan is extremely important for us to be able to educate a lot of people. When we are scaling up the technologies in other countries, we can bring young women in, train them, and they can lead the new projects in other countries. So we don't have to wait until we have built in a new country to educate people. We can do this in parallel. So Lars, couldn't you explain us a little bit more on figures and numbers? Go green by black numbers and red tomatoes and some paprika is what we're going to do here, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frederic. Thank you. I am delighted to be here this afternoon, sorry. And it is a pleasure to have started this journey together with Pathfinder and you, Barbara, and you, Dan. And I hope that we will be able to pass the pizza test eventually as well. Right. We've been talking a lot about expansive visions. We have the vision of large projects expanding, being carbon negative, rolling out vast areas, and we have this vision of circular ecosystems coming together. And I have the delightful task to bring that vision down on the ground and to I will try to demystify it and tell you what is it really? What does this mean when we want to make it happen in reality? And what is the most important bit when you want to take a vision and you want to make it happen in practice? Well, I think the answer lies with the triple bottom line that several of you have been talking about. You've been talking about it, Frederic. You've been talking about it, Kjetil. And if you want to do something which ultimately is good for the planet, you need to find something which is also good for the people, right? The people in the area where you're operating, the people that will be doing this together with you. And in order to build a project that will be good for people, you need to start with something which also is good business. So it is imperative. There needs to be sound business behind a project, and this is what I will try to demonstrate for you today, how we've been thinking about that. So specifically, taking this vision down on the ground, we have a very tangible, specific business case for Tunisia. We have a specific business case for Jordan. And we are in the process of trying to build one for Egypt together, which is very exciting. And as an example, I'm going to take you through, so what exactly is the case for Jordan, the Aqaba Oasis project. And this is the first stage, because we can think of these projects as tiles in a mosaic. And this is a typical tile. This is a greenhouse installation of 10 hectares on a total area of roughly 50 hectares. So the contents here, we start with the greenhouse, obviously. 10 hectares enables us to produce roughly 2,200 tons tomatoes per annum. We have the solar power that powers the greenhouse and also the desalination and the technical installations around. The desalination in this case is over-dimensioned, so we have substantial capacity to be a freshwater supplier as let's call it a utilities hub at the entranceway to the food security zone in Aqaba. Very, very valuable. We obviously we have the outdoor revegetation area where we are planting, we are making the desert green, really. And lastly, we have training facilities set up where we will, for example, we'll use it for vocational training in general, but also to drive the She Grows program that Kjetil introduced initially, where we focus not only on creating jobs for ladies, but also to bring them up into scientific and managerial positions and enable them to be drivers of such projects by themselves. And we are very proud of this program. Currently we have had 70 graduates pass through it, and we're about to have 100 more. It is one of the most exciting aspects of the Jordan process so far. And these are not plans, these are things happening on the ground today. Right, and just have a brief idea of the installations that we just talked about. So what are they? What do they represent in physical terms and financial terms? We started with the greenhouse, 10 hectares of greenhouse, roughly 14 million in investment, technical infrastructure around the site, PV solar power, it's 2.5 megawatt installed capacity. We have the elements regarding the water supply, the desalination system, and the pipeline infrastructure. So in total, this particular investment boils down to a total investment of roughly 26 million euros. And behind the 26 million euros, we have then a blended finance setup where we are looking at some element which is a collaborative technology financing with one of the technology suppliers into the project. Obviously, we need to have a private capital component because it is a commercial project. We do need to have private financial investors, and they do need to have a good return on the project. That is roughly 30% of the equity and debt part of the project. And then lastly, we are discussing with the EBRD financing of roughly 13 million, which will be a blend of grants and debt for the project. So that's pretty easy. So what we have not talked about is what is the role of the authorities into a project. And the role of the authorities is crucial in many ways. Both in terms of there are so many bits and bolts that need to be discussed and agreed with the local authorities, but specifically, they are the facilitators, the enablers that make it happen. In terms of here in Aqaba, we have been allocated an area of 50 hectares north of the city center, south of the airport, and the authorities will be facilitating a pipeline with water supply into the area. So, you know, that solid strategic long-term partnership with the local authorities is crucial to get the project off the ground. And here you also see very clearly the potential impact that we can get by having a utilities hub at the entranceway to the food security zone of Aqaba. So to be able to provide fresh water and energy for further development, obviously that is a sound basis for a long-term strategic partnership with the government and the local authorities. There's some figures in this as well. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to take you through each and every figure on the P&L for the project. This is very exciting stuff, so I hope you're all rested well. No, just kidding. The takeaway is, as I briefly mentioned, the outcome of the product is when we are up and running, which we will fully be by the second year. I think that's also quite important. It takes 1 year roughly at 75%, and then the second year you will be operating at full speed. And full speed means 2,200 tons tomatoes. Could be other produce, could be cucumbers, could be peppers, which we also brought some samples of here. And obviously the case will have different top lines, but the bottom result is going to be quite similar regardless of the choice of produce. 6.5 million euros per annum roughly in revenues, and 43% project margin, which I think is quite respectable. I think these are good numbers. So here, 2.9 million euros per annum in cash as the operating outcome of the project. I think that's pretty respectable. I'm not going to spend a lot more time, just try to summarize what I've just been through. So taking the vision down on the ground in one project tile is an investment of 26 million euros. 2,200 tons annual produce, 6.5 million annual revenues at 43% EBITDA margin. And we've tried to structure this in a way so that, there are different ways of looking at return on investment. You can look at the total capex, you can look the employed capital, etc. I think the important thing is, what does it mean for the private investors putting their private capital to work at our site? And we have structured this so that they will have payback on their investment in roughly 4 years through dividends. That is one way of structuring it, but it's important to make it attractive, and we can. We are enhancing the community through vocational training, gender programs, participation. It is an important objective, and we will deliver on it. Utilities access, water and energy in support of further rollout in the area, important. And success factors, what is the most important thing to make it happen? It is the partnership. It is the technology partnerships, it is the local strategic partnerships with operators, it is the partnerships with governments, and that the collaboration with the authorities is actually one of the key foundations for making sure that you're not just left with one project, but you continue to roll out, and you don't stop at 10 hectares of greenhouse, 100 perhaps. We'll see how it goes. And then we can afford to have pizza. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know about you, but it actually gets me really excited to see the concrete. That was such an excellent presentation. I like how you called it, that's one tile of the mosaic. This is real. It's a solution. It exists. We've made there are mistakes to learn from, and now it's time. So I want to step back for one moment and get a picture of the broader political terrain, because it feels like at this COP, this is really a COP where government is calling on business, business is calling on government, civil society is trying to urge everyone. And Dan, you might want to give us a perspective about what we're actually learning in this landscape and why something like this is actually its time. So.
Very good. Barbara, thanks so much, and thanks to the whole team. We're mainly friends in the room. I mean, friends, we know each other. Everyone's friends in the room. But I guess I want to use the time to highlight the opportunities to leverage what the COP is supposed to be about with two intersecting themes. One is that anyone who's been to a lot of COPs knows that no matter how much money is or is not available, someone always says, there's all the money we need, we just have to find bankable projects. And that's been said for every year, and I never believe it, because that money doesn't show up. So on the one hand, there's this promise, but not the delivery. And the second intersecting theme is that we now have the tools to highlight the benefit of projects, not just to the people employed, but to the wider community around gender and around integration of underrepresented minority communities. And those two themes come together here in a big way. And so what I'm hoping will come out of this session and the others you'll be holding is that the people here will go away armed with the tools. You just heard from Lars. There is a wonderful spreadsheet that lays out all the numbers. It highlights the water benefits, the food benefits, the solar benefits of these tiles. And we now have this wider conversation around financing the projects we critically need. Yesterday morning, William Ruto, the new president of Kenya, got up and highlighted there will be a new Africa-based facility for clean energy projects. He was followed by the president of Malawi. They had former presidents in the room. There is a multi-billion-dollar effort to get financing in place by Africa and for Africa. And I hate to say it, but Landesbank in Germany and Wells Fargo Bank and Bank of America in the United States and Santander in Spain do not do projects for the benefit of Southeast Asia or Africa. That is not what they do, no matter how glossy their pictures are. There has to be financing facilities that are focused on the needs in the regions. And Sahara Forest Project is exactly one of these examples. It is a project that all the pieces are in place. All of the financing mechanisms are there. We have this documented story of working with and employing women. And as the project moves to Egypt and to Somalia and to Tunisia and to Malawi, it has the opportunity to be that tool that can finance and provide food and provide clean water for underrepresented minority communities. So to go against what we call Majimboism in parts of East Africa, where there is balkanization based on tribal groups. So all the tools are here. What I'm hoping will come next is that people in the room will say, I think I know the right office at the African Development Bank. I think I know the right office at the Arab Fund for Africa. I think I know the right place. And because this project pencils out as positive, even before we add in these social benefits, you're armed with a winner. And again, it's a small community, so I said we're a small group of friends and soon to be friends here. But this is the next stage of a project like this, to get in front of all of those financing groups, those that understand and reflect on what is the social cost of carbon and those that don't. And this project wins either way. But one of the things that's coming, and in fact, President Biden will be here on Friday afternoon speaking about the steps that the US government has made, and I'm sure he'll highlight his party, my party, survived the midterm elections. But the real critical feature is that there are now new financing tools. So one of them is something that was pioneered originally by economists, and I always hate to say economists pioneered anything, but in this case, I'll say it. Swedish and American economists pioneered a social cost of carbon, utilizing economic models to highlight what is the impact of each ton of emission, whether it's a near-term ton of fossil methane or a longer-term ton of CO2, in terms of its cost on the environment, cost on women, cost on minority communities. That number is at minimum $50 a ton. It's probably more like 180, but 50 alone would make projects like this be massive winners. So what I'm hoping comes out of today is each someone here says, I'm armed with the tools of the project, but I also recognize there's this larger conversation. And President Biden will say his executive order was to require every business and every state and every foreign government doing business with the United States now has to reflect that social cost of carbon. So it's additional ammunition coming your way But what's nice about the Sahara Forest Project is you don't even need it. The project's finances today make the full story. So I'll stop here. I'm hoping what Lars will do is then to inject into each of your computers or your brain, whichever you choose, a copy of the PowerPoint, a copy of the Excel spreadsheet, so that we can all go away and find one of those donors. I can tell you who I'm going to talk to, and that is I have conversations with the African Development Bank in Abidjan coming up, when I'll be highlighting this project at 25 to or so $1 million per full site, not per tile, but for a full site, is a good money-making investment for bankers that often forget that. So I'll stop here. I am looking for these conversations. My boss at USAID, Samantha Power, is in Lebanon today. She'll be arriving tomorrow, and I intend to have that sit-down conversation for how much can Power Africa and USAID put in. They already put in some money, not enough, but they put in some money for the project in Jordan. It's time to do this as a commercial effort, not a pilot, full scale. I'll stop there. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And that's it. As we talked about, this is the moment. This is the moment where we decide we're going to do this. I have noticed myself how it's a mindset shift. I think that oftentimes when we've divided up the world into nonprofits and business and government, that actually when something presents itself as a profit-making entity that also does good for the planet and also happens to benefit the social and cultural world, this is a moment where the mindset shifts. If you were in an entrepreneurial startup, Dan and I both happen to be from California, everybody thinks like this. Now it's out to raise funds, right? Who are going to be our angel investors? How do we think about the capital stack? There are a lot of ways to raise the money, and Dan's question is exactly right. Who are we speaking to? I have the privilege to work with a great team in Egypt who has incredible high-level capacity, but they've told me, you know, we have to get the money to come to this soon because otherwise we lose that political moment of having the buy-in. So, Ambassador, as you're thinking through people you're talking to, the other night, I was actually at a dinner with all these resilience investors. This is the kind of project which private money should be chasing. And so I ask all of us to get very creative. I know I'm going to get extremely entrepreneurial about who I am bringing this conversation to. Also, you know, quite aware that the landscape of investment in the MENA region is quite different from just European and American. There's a lot of money in the Arab world that is also looking to expand gender, which is a real moment. I mean, we have to be extremely thoughtful on who we partner with, but I don't want to underestimate that we need to be creative. So take this moment. We are friends in this room. We have been traveling and welcome new friends to this opportunity, but let's not go a moment further than realizing this is going to happen, and this is the moment we decide to lean in and make it real. Kjetil, back to you to close us out. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara. And I think you did a brilliant job actually in just summarizing it. With Pathfinder, we have a local partner. We have someone that can actually manage to pull this off, to make the connections and to do the hard work, which is to also introduce the project here in Egypt. Thank you, Rannia, for your nice work as well. It's really good to see your team, Barbara, Mohammed as well. And Dan, to listen to you saying how we're going to knock on the doors, and we heard you, we got it on tape, you know, money is coming, that's great. Our job is to show that the solutions are on the ground. We'll keep on pumping vegetables out of the desert, doing what we know how to do best, and that is to make real change on the ground. And Frederic, with your ideas and your exciting opportunity to show the world how this is a climate change project as well, I think we're on a good path. And Lars, with your leadership, we can scale this up, no doubt. So yeah, why not think about this as the COP, the side event with the ambassador present. Let's remember this as the side event where we decided to make this happen. Should we agree on that? Alrighty, well, thanks for now.